but let's give last weekend its due, and let's start with Bobby Knuckles, the former UFC middleweight champion. Around 5 or 6 weeks ago, we had a situation where it looked like there was this tournament brewing, right? And we had Derek Brunson with the big win over Kevin Holland. We had Marvin Vettori versus Darren Till. Unfortunately, Darren Till breaks his collarbone, so he's out. In walks in Kevin Holland again. Marvin Vettori wins. And then at the very end, we were going to have Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Costa's sick, and we get the fight we were supposed to get 2 years ago, and that's Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum. And in the end, it was the last fight of that little tournament that sealed the deal, because there is no denying, in my opinion, and I want to get your take, after all of that Robert Whittaker is the number one contender at 185. You could have made a case after the win over Jared Cannonier that he was the number one contender, but we need to get Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker too. This is no debate, right? This is a case closed. This is 100% fact. Whittaker Adesanya too. After the win on Saturday, 5-0 he pitched a shutout. It has to be this, right?
It's over. It's over. I mean, it should have been a wrap after Cannonier, like you said, but it's completely over now. There's no question who deserves the title shot. And Marvin Vettori understood that after watching the fight. Because when he did that interview, it said, hey, a lot of people talk like he don't want the fight. Marvin Vettori is trying to call back to the summer, right? We made a whole bunch. Remember in the summer, we made a lot about when Rob kept saying, title fight comes, whatever. And then after the fight, Rob was like, wait, I do want a title fight. We had kind of taken what he said out of context, right? Marvin tried to call back to that. He tried to reintroduce that into the story, and that's not the case. Whittaker's like, no, I get what you're doing, but I want my title fight. And after that performance, after how he has looked since losing the title, he's literally 1B. He literally shows that if Adesanya is 1A, he is 1B, and then maybe he can beat him in a rematch because he has actually gotten better. And when you look at these fights and you watch a guy get beat and the way Rob got beat, you wonder what he's changed. He's changed a lot, from his wrestling transitions to his striking looks as good as it always has. His cardio looks fantastic. I mean, we always have known that he's very, very good. But to me, he seems like a better version of Robert Whittaker, even when he was the champion defending the belt against guys over and over again. So yes, it's time for a rematch. Izzy, it's time to give this man what he has earned. He did not sit on the sideline like a lot of us do after we lost our belts. I sat until Stipe fought me again. Stipe sat until I fought him again. Many people sit and wait for another title fight. Robert Whittaker has answered the call. He didn't sit and wait. He went out and proved to you that he is that guy. So it's time to pay him up, man. It's time to pay up. Adesanya versus Whittaker 2 is the fight that needs to happen. And it needs to happen next.
Loved what you said on the back end there. Agree with everything that you said. But it's so funny because here we have this weekend a situation where Masvidal sat, where Colby's trying to sit after just one fight.
It's crazy, right? The people we talked about before were champions that lost and sat.
Yeah.
Masvidal sat as the challenger and still got a rematch. This dude
was the champ.
Yes, he went and earned it again. He didn't say, well, I've defended the belt so many times, I deserve this. He went and earned it again. And it's time to pay up, man. You got to give that man his fight.
So he deserves credit, in my opinion, for three things. Number one, that for being active, for the wins, Darren Till, Jared Cannonier, Kelvin Gastelum, like the best of the best at 185. And yes, he didn't get any finishes there, but like he was very dominant and looked tremendous in every one of those fights. And, he also deserves credit, in my opinion. He was a little bit snake bitten while champion, right? All kinds of bad luck, right? Like collapsed bow, all that stuff. In the midst of this pandemic, DC, since July, this guy has now fought 3 times. Since July, that's like a 9-month stretch. This guy's fought 3 times. That's unheard of in this day and age for a top contender, right? He deserves credit for that. He deserves credit for not complaining. And you know what else he deserves credit for, DC? This is a guy who was open about mental health issues. This is a guy who was open about feeling burnt out, about feeling depressed. He seems to be in a great spot. I mean, like, he is unflappable when it comes to the trash talk. He does it with a smile. He is so likable. Like, Robert Whittaker is really a testament to the sport. He is the best the sport has to offer in so many, like a tremendous role model, a family man. How do you not root for this guy? And so I'm happy, and I'm happy that he's getting another crack at Izzy to right that wrong. And by the way, I'm just wondering, like, based off the last 3 fights, based off the fact that he appears to be in a great spot mentally, happy, family in order, life in order, personal life in order, is there anything that makes you feel like this second fight goes any different? Because let's be honest, it was very one-sided the first time around,
Yes.
right?
Well, it was a one-sided fight the first time, but you got to remember all these factors that play into what happened the first time. He had been defending that belt and just having to show blood and guts and a warrior spirit through those Romero fights.
10 rounds with Romero.
With Romero, right? Who Luke Rockhold that feels like he's made of steel. He had fought, who else did he fight in that title when he was the champion? He fought Romero twice. He fought
well, he was undefeated at 185 pounds, but so like one of the fights at middleweight wasn't an official,
it was an interim title fight, right?
Well, there was an interim title fight, but there was also a situation where Yoel Romero didn't make weight.
And it was him for the belt, Romero not for the belt. Yes.
Yeah. And that was it. As far as title fights, that was it.
Just 2?
Yes. And then he fought Izzy.
It felt like he had the belt forever.
Yeah, at 185, he fought Clint Hester, Brad Tavares, Uriah Hall, Rafael Natal, Derek Brunson, Jacare. None of those were title fights. Then he gets the interim title fight against Yoel. Then he gets the other supposed title fight, but it actually wasn't an official title fight against Romero. And that was it. He didn't get, and then he lost to Izzy. But remember, he was supposed to fight Gastelum.
Yeah.
Had to pull out. There was the stuff with Bisping that didn't come to fruition. But yeah, there was only 2.
It felt like he had the belt forever. But with those fights with Romero, he went through the meat grinder to win those matches. He got hurt bad in that one fight where he was about to get finished and somehow won the 5th round. And you alluded to his mental issues, right? Where he was burnt out and he felt like he just didn't want to do it anymore. The stresses of being the champion, because when you're the champion, everything is questioned, right? When Robert Whittaker is having to pull out of a fight at the last minute, people are going, oh, this, and the other. When reality is he was struggling physically, probably was struggling up top mentally. When he had to pull out of that fight, all the questions that he had to hear probably played a part in some of the mental hurdles that he had to overcome. Then you got this young guy just blasting up through the rankings in Israel Adesanya. So they're going in totally different directions the last time. This time, Izzy's the one coming off of a loss.
Yes.
He got stopped in his quest to become a double champion. He is now not undefeated anymore. He's not the guy that's just riding this wave all the way up to the top. And now Whittaker, it's this now, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's the opposite. So I think all those things factor into what this fight can look like whenever they're matched up again. And also, Robert Whittaker looks like he's gotten better. And Jan Blachowicz has shown, right? Jan Blachowicz has shown a way in which you can fight Israel Adesanya and beat him. So, I mean, I think Whittaker can now take fractions of what Jan did and try to apply it to a fight with Adesanya, because guess what? In the first fight, I felt like that was a fly. Okay. I felt like I don't want to Bruce Buffer that. Remember Bruce Buffer was all.
I thought you were doing my dunk.
No, the first fight, I thought Whittaker's big mistake was he watched the Gastelum fight, and he saw all the success Gastelum had with rushing Israel Adesanya and just pressuring him. And I thought he tried to fight in that same way. But guess what? With a guy like Izzy, you get to do that once. You don't get to replicate that fight after fight. So he just picked him apart. It was all counters, right? Izzy got him with that left hook counter to finish him. Izzy got him with a left hook counter in the first round to drop him at the end of the round. So he was prepared for Robert to fight like Kelvin Gastelum did. Now Robert can try and fight a little bit like Jan, but he's got to mix between the two because he's not as big as Blachowicz is.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.